Today I'll be removing the factory stereo from the H22 Civic. Because all you really need is the sound of VTech, right? So I've decided to take the radio out of the Civic, mainly because the previous owner wired it up wrong and it was shorting out the fuse every time I would put a new fuse in there. So I took it out, found out how badly it was wired, and I just capped off all the wires. Now I'm going to make a plate to sit over top of this hole here, and I'm also going to make something to cover this big hole here because my cup holders don't fit in there with the prelude shifter. So that's what I'm doing today. So the material I'm using for this project is going to be aluminum diamond plate, just because I like the way it looks. So I've already cut a section out of the corner there to fill the hole where the radio used to be. So now I'm going to grind it down to size and then we'll go from there. Okay, so the radio delete plate is done. I'm just waiting for it to dry. So I'm going to get to work on the center console now. So luckily I have a spare center console sitting around that I can use to get my measurements. Basically what I'm going to do is follow this line here and then follow it up. So I'm going to cut two plates and then join them together in the middle, and then that should cover up the hole. So I'm going to get to cutting out that piece next. Alright, I got both of my plates cut out now for the center console. So the way that I'm going to set this up, if you get from the underside here, this plate is going to sit in here like this. And the second one will sit this way. So there's already these two tabs from the factory, which will kind of hold this in place really nicely. And up top here, there's already some tabs as well, and I just cut some slits into them, and then now the plate sits in there really nicely. So essentially this is what it's going to look like. Okay, so while I had these plates sitting on here with the console upside down, I went ahead and used some epoxy on the seam here. And that seems to have joined it together pretty nicely. It feels pretty solid. So once it dried, then I went ahead and I painted it the same way that I did for the stereo delete plate. So now what I'm going to do is I'll set it back in here. I'll mix up some more epoxy, and then where these two tabs are, I'm going to epoxy that, and then on every tab down here as well, I'll do some epoxy down there, and it should be done.